Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for making time for this webinar that is brought to you by Corobrik. The webinar is about clay paving 101, and I will shortly introduce Shawnee's Naidu from Corobrik, who will make her presentation. Just one or two announcements is the session will be recorded. We will share a copy of the recording with all the attendees in the next day or so. I just wanted to remind everybody that Corobrik is also offering a factory visit on Thursday, and there is still a space available to register. If you are interested in registering, I have put a QR code on the screen, which you'll be able to just scan and register. If you need assistance with transportation, you are more than welcome to just indicate that when you register. The pickup location will be at Corobrik's offices in Bedford View, and the shuttle will depart at 8:30, and then registration at the factory itself will start at 9:30. If you want to, you're welcome to self-drive and meet us at Corobrik Springs factory. So yeah, take this opportunity just to register for that if you are still interested. And then obviously we've got the ILASA Awards of Excellence. We're very excited about it. Submissions are now open. We have a Q&A webinar, an informative webinar on the 6th of May. And there are several sponsorship packages available for this event. And we've also sent out a call for judges, which closes next week, Thursday, on the 30th of April. You can scan this QR code, which will direct you to the website with all the information about the awards. So without any further ado, I am going to introduce Shawnee's, who is welcome to share her screen and take it from here. You're muted. Sorry, Shawnee's.
Thank you, Eileen. I'm sorry about that. I just want to put on my camera for like a few minutes so everyone can see how crusty and I sound dusty because obviously I've been sick with this flu. So please excuse me in advance, but thank you so much for everyone for attending this session. So I'm going to switch off my camera and then just share my screen so that we can kick off. Okay. Can Eileen or everyone just give me like a thumbs up if the screen is being shared? Okay,
Yes, we can
great.
see. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So what we'll be covering today is Smart from the Ground Up, Clay Paving 101. The contents we'll be covering is the benefits of segmental clay paving, SANS 1575 2007, which is for paving specifically, and paving classifications, the sizing of paving, compressive strengths, modulus of rupture. We'll touch on the properties of clay products, as well as the key elements of the paving. We'll discuss flexible as well as rigid paving and the difference of the two systems. And we'll go into the installation as well as some design criteria. I do have to apologize because this is a 2-hour CPD presentation, which we're going to condense in an hour, just so that we can get the content covered because it is quite valuable content. So I do apologize if I rush through it. So the benefits of clay segmental paving. So just like our normal face bricks, we're talking about clay as a product, and there are so many benefits. I can talk for days about the benefits of clay as a product, but just to mention a few, which I think a lot of people are familiar with, we'll talk about the natural and sustainable of the clay as a product, the timeless and aesthetic appeal that it gives, the rich and permanent fade-free colors that we are able to offer, as well as the product of clay. It obviously boosts your property value, as well as the versatility of this product that you can use it both indoor and outdoor, as the maintenance will always be the very, very big pro of clay, the maintenance-free resistance, and as well as the slip, naturally slip resistant from clay and with our pavers. And then, yeah, there's endless properties as well as we can go on for days, like I mentioned. So SANS 1575, we're going to cover that in about 3 slides. What is SANS 1575? It's the South African national standard for burnt clay paving units. So basically, SABS is the national the South African Bureau of Standards that's responsible for regulating the quality of the South African goods in terms of the SANS 157 standard. So all Corobrik's products are basically SABS approved in line with the SANS 157 standard. So, which is very important, is the different classifications of your paving. So we've got 2, which is your PA paving as well as the PB paving. So the PA paving, these are units that are selected or produced for their high durability and degree of uniformity in size, shape, and that have dimensions that work in a ratio and length work size which with approximately 1:1 or 2:1. And then our PB range is basically units that are selected or produced for the durability and for the uniformity in size and shape. So the difference between the 2 units in action, according to SANS 1575, this is not a Corobrik standard. So with regards to the PA, we have the units may have chamfered arras, and the chamfer or sloped arras should be less than 7 millimeter from the nominal edge. And then the PB pavers, these units shall have a uniform arras that are not chamfered. And then they have also spacer nibs, which are vertical protrusions on the faces to maintain joints of less than 3 mil. So we purposely do include this in our manufacturing process to allow for that joint. And that pavers are not butt jointed against each other to allow for flexibility and move. Units must be well fired and free from cracks, edge and corner damage. So this is for both the PA range as well as the PB range. So just to mention specifically as well on the PA range, SANS 157 says that it has to have a chamfered or may have a chamfered arras, but it's also available in straight edges as a specific request. So we'll go into the sizing of the 50 millimeter paving range. Basically, we've developed our pavers to be completely modular so that all pavers are interchangeable with each other. So we'll start off with the doppio, which is the 220 by 220 millimeters, as well as the modular, that's 220 by 108.5. So basically 2 modular pavers make up 1 doppio. And then we've got the piazza, which is 220 by 52 millimeters. And 4 piazzas make up 1 doppio. And then we've got the cobble, which is 108.5 by 108.5 millimeter. And 4 cobbles make up 1 doppio. And then 2 cobbles make up 1 modular. So you can see, you can play around with your layouts and you can go crazy. So all these formats are available in the full range of paving. So we'll touch on the size tolerances, which is for the PA as well as the PB. And this is similarly explained in the Facebook ranges with your FBX, FBS, and FBA range. So with regards to your PA and your PB, it is always important to account for these variances within the pavers or the tolerances. So with your PA, you have much more higher tolerances to your PB. What they state about the warpage is that it should not exceed 3 millimeter on a PA unit. For PA, we don't really look at the individual units. We look at the average dimensions of 32 units. So with a PA, you are allowed to vary plus minus 2.5 mil in length plus minus 1.5 mil in width, and plus minus 1.2 mil in height. And then PB, it's plus minus 3 mil in length, and plus minus 2 mil in width, and plus minus 2 mil in height. So you can see that variance. Compressive strength. So compressive strength versus modulus of rupture. A lot of other suppliers or other suppliers in the market, they test their pavers by compressive strength, and we do it by modulus of rupture. So compressive strength is basically the compressive strength that refers to the squeezing or pressing of a material, and we do the compressive strength tests for our bricks. For the clay pavers, we do modulus of rupture, which is also known as your flexural strength, your bend strength, and your fracture strength. And that's obviously important for us when we're testing our clay pavers. So with regards to the modulus of rupture, with regards to PA pavers, the nominal modulus of rupture is 4 MPa, and then the minimum individual modulus of rupture is 2.5 MPa. And then PBs, it's 3 MPa for nominal modulus of rupture, and minimum individual is 2 MPa. So everyone will obviously question that looks a bit low, and but you must just remember we're testing modulus of rupture. So I always like to show this slide to my clients, which illustrates nicely basically modulus of rupture compared to compressive strength. And I don't know if I have a pointer here. Yes. So basically, if you just look at the nutmeg paver, and the modulus of rupture, they show in 8.3, but the actual compressive strength is 45.4 MPa. So a lot of engineers, we like to explain to them that you must compare apples with apples. And if you are comparing modulus of rupture, or if you want to, then you can compare the compressive strength. So we've just made this document available so that they can compare actual compressive strength with compressive strength, or modulus of rupture with modulus of rupture. And you'll see our pavers are ridiculously engineered. The MPa compressive strength is ranging from 45.4 to 69 MPa, which is very, very good. Sorry, guys, if we do have any questions, you're more than welcome to just stop me as we go along, and we'll tackle them. But if you'd like to keep it for the end, then that's also perfectly fine. So the properties of clay, we mentioned a few in the beginning of the slide, but thermal expansion, which is 0.1 millimeter, assuming a 50-degree temperature change, which is similar to the face bricks as well, because we're talking about clay as a product. And then we also have the irreversible moisture expansion, which all are stipulated on the specification sheets. So if you do download them, they will give you the thermal expansion as well as the irreversible moisture expansion categories. So the categories are divided by category 1, 2, and 3. Category 1 is a 0.5 millimeter per meter. Category 2, 0.5 to 1 millimeter per meter. And then category 3, 1 to 2 millimeters per meter. So remember, we said this is not our standard. This is the SANS 157 standard. Efflorescence. With regards to efflorescence as well, when you do download a specification sheet, you will be given a degree of efflorescence. So it will state either nil, slight, moderate, heavy, or serious, depending on the degree of efflorescence. Efflorescence is just a soluble salt. It is erroneously assumed to come from the brick or the paver, but it is we know, or we can test based on the specification sheet what exactly is the efflorescence rating. So, for example, you'll see the nutmeg pavers are a null efflorescence rating. So immediately, if efflorescence is coming from the nutmeg on a site and it looks like this, it is a problem. And then we have to investigate where exactly is it coming from. And most of the time we are able to see, because if you look at this specific picture, if it was coming from the pavers, it would be everywhere. But you can see it's clearly on a certain section of the flooring. So then we do the necessary investigation. We've got a lab, an independent lab that can test exactly where the efflorescence is coming from. Efflorescence is not permanent. It does fade over time, and we do know how to treat it. It is basically just dry brushed away from the building, because I mentioned it is a soluble salt. So if you do wet it, it will literally just dissolve and over time dry and then settle again. So we do have a way to treat efflorescence if it is coming from the pavers. If it is coming from the soil or the sand or so forth, then obviously we look at those sources. So the key elements of paving from the ground up. So basically, you're designing from the ground up, okay? It is the designer's responsibility to evaluate the in situ soil conditions and the sub-base requirements based on the loading considerations. Do not install plastic sheeting under the paving. It is old mentality that is deemed to be acceptable, but it is not correct. Do not install plastic sheeting. If you do see this on site, bring it to your contractor's attention and flag it, because it is not correct. The jointing sand is not the same as your bedding sand. And if you look at your layer works, your sub-base is your materials that's imported for subgrade is poor quality or traffic load is heavy. Your subgrade is your in situ and your soil, which is the natural earth found on your site. And then the wearing surface will depend on your actual product and your surface product. Edge restraint, it holds the paving in position and prevents the horizontal creep. And your weed growth accommodates for this with your killer and not a plastic layer. So we always say there is products on the market to treat your weed killers or to treat your weeds to kill it, rather than, installing the traditional old mentality of a plastic sleeve. Do not do that. So working on steep gradients, which is a special measure needed to ensure the stability and your control movement. To support this effective drainage, you require an edge restraint, especially at the foot of the gradient. So transverse concrete beams may need to be constructed, and your bond pattern should be 45-degree herringbone to aid with the drainage. Then trafficked paving or trafficable areas. So within the ranges, we've got the 50 mil, which is specifically for pedestrian, light vehicle, light traffic. And then we've got the 65 mil, which is for heavy vehicle traffic up to class E2 loading conditions. So the structural performance of the paving units is based primarily on providing a continuous and adequate underlying support, ensuring the structural interlock between the paving units, instituting proper construction practices, and utilizing correct jointing sand. And then we're providing the adequate confinement of the paving. So we mentioned we'll discuss the difference between flexible and rigid, which is the two paving methods. So if you look at the design layer works, the main difference is with the flexible, you've got your subgrade, your sub-base, your bedding sand, and your clay paving as your surface. And then with the rigid, you've got your subgrade, your cement stabilized base, and then the bedding course and the clay paving. So the main difference is obviously the bases. With your rigid, you have to have a cement stabilized base. So what is flexible paving? A pavement system comprising of a wearing surface, fired clay pavers laid with a 2 to 6 millimeter joint filled with a fine sand on a bedding course of sharp sand and a granular subbase or improved subgrade. So it requires sand bedding and sand jointing not to be the same sands. That is very important. We know contractors take a shortcut. Performance depends totally on the adequacy of the overall system and not on the wearing surface alone. So a lot of times we'll be called to site to say that the pavers are failing. And when we look deeper, it's actually the sub-base that's failing. So flexible paving should be the first choice for structural demanding conditions. The role of jointing, extensive studies have shown that the essential element for effective flexible paving is the provision of proper and effective joints. So we need to provide the necessary interlocking of the paving units. That's the role of the jointing. It provides macro resistance to skidding wheels, generates horizontal forces between individual pavers by means of volume increase. It accommodates for your size tolerances of the individual paving units. And that is very important because we often find pavings being butt jointed, and that is an incorrect installation. So like we mentioned with the tolerances, you'll obviously accommodate for this within your jointing sand. And then properly constructed joints around each paving unit provide for moisture and the thermal movement that we also spoke about. So it is very important that we accommodate for that. And then it avoids the damage through abrasion, which is when the pavers rub against each other. So your bedding and jointing sand, your bedding and your jointing sand are not interchangeable. Your bedding sand is the thin layer of sand coarse that's it's a thin layer of sand coarser than your jointing sand, and must not be used to correct the sub-layer levels. Very important. So should be as thin as possible to avoid potential rutting. So 30 millimeters uncompacted and then 25 millimeters compacted. Your jointing sand generates horizontal forces between the individual units. So it facilitates a measure of load transfer and the bonds of the pavement surface elements together, and it substantially arrests moisture ingress from the surface to the subbase, which is also very important. So you do need these different sanding. With regards to rigid paving, this rigid paving comprises a wearing surface of clay pavers laid with an 8 to 12 millimeter, average 10 millimeter mortar joint on a mortar bed over a rigid load-bearing base, usually a concrete slab or a concrete base. We spoke about that with the different layers of the rigid and the flexible. So the design principles are similar to those of a cemented paver. No structural contribution is expected from the pavers. Shame, the baby's not enjoying this. So we have unusual bonding patterns and sharp changes in levels, as well as steps, terraces, and ramps are ideally constructed using rigid paving. And it's ideal for internal surfaces where class 1 mortar is required. So the base of rigid paving, flexible bases are compacted earth or crusher run, are not recommended unless stabilized with more than or equal to 6% of cement and suited to the loading. So a typical base is 100 to 150 millimeters of 10 MPa concrete base on design needs. Your concrete jointing is unreinforced concrete required by movement joint every 4 to 5 meters. Apologies. Alignment matters. Your joints should coincide with the structural joints in the concrete base. Your movement joints you place around the perimeter, and fixed elements, which is your pillars, your drains, and along the buildings. Your paver jointing is expansion category 1 pavers require a movement joint every 9 meters, which should run vertically through the base layers and wearing surfaces.
Shanice, sorry, can I just interrupt you? We've got a question.
Okay, sorry, I
Elise
can't
is,
see
no,
anything.
it's
Yeah.
fine. Elise is asking what type of jointing sand available on the market here in Gauteng would you recommend? Would we be able to have access to this? Oh, yes. So, Elise, you will have access to the
Yes.
presentation and the recording afterwards, but maybe
Yes.
Shanice can answer that question.
Yes, and I would also like to send to Elise, the actual specification, which is very important. So what I'll do is after this session, if Elise can just drop her contact details in the chat, so I can send her the exact recommendations when it comes to your jointing sand, your bedding sand, and so forth.
Thank you so much.
Okay, then we move to the drainage and the edge restraints. So your quick clearance of rainwater and avoidance of puddles is essential. Rigid paving is sufficiently impermeable, so subsurface drainage is generally not required because you do have that concrete surface. And then your surface drainage must still be provided. An optimum fall is 1:60 with a minimum requirement of 1:100. Your straight falls to an open channel offer the simplest drainage solution. And for edge restraint, the easiest method is to extend the slab and lay your bricks on edge. So with regards to the laying and jointing for the rigid paving, intimacy of the pavers to their joints and bedding is essential. Bedding and joint filling as single operation provides the best durability. Bond the header course to the slab. Bedding layer consists of 15 to 20 millimeters of the specified mortar, generally class 1. And then a semi-dry mix can be used as a bedding course. To promote the adhesion to the bedding course, a 2 millimeter slurry, 1:1 fine sand or cement can be used. And then butter the paver and push into the mortar bed. Completely fill your joints with mortar or cement slurry using a fine sand to ensure the gaps around the pavers are filled. And then we always advise that they clean the pavers thereafter. Pave your way to success. Don't forget these. A chip is no more than 10 millimeter in depth and 25 millimeter in circumference. No more than 5% allowed, which is from the Brick Paving Institute. Tires leave marks on any type or color of paving. Apologies. So I always say if you are worried about tire marks on your paving along your driveway, just go with the darker paver instead of a lighter paver. You can always do your lighter pavers around like a border or incorporate a design where the driveway won't be. And then take care using your high pressure cleaners to avoid washing out the sand or your joints. Color variation is natural occurrence on clay pavers. So yes, we thrive for complete consistency when it comes to our pavers. And if you do join us on Thursday, you'll get to experience this firsthand. But because we are dealing with a natural product, it's coming from the ground, you are going to get your slight tonal variance, and because it is a natural product. Handle pavers with care on site to prevent damage. So we always advise the contractors to take that extra step of precaution. Installation. So you can see there are countless of possibilities and types, but the common basket weave 2:1, basket weave 2:2, zigzag running bonds, circular radial, stack, stretcher. These are your very common bonds. We see obviously your 45%, 45-degree herringbone, very, very trending currently, as well as your 90-degree herringbone. So the practical considerations is your running or stretcher bond. The long axis should be laid in right angles to the direction of traffic. Your stack bond and basket weave are very linear and require high level of workmanship. So if you are struggling or if you are worried about your contractor that's not going to be able to achieve your beautiful designs and layouts, let us know. We offer free brick lane training assistance to all sites, and we will go to site free of charge, show them how to work with the bricks, show them how to work with the pavers, let them achieve the best designs that you are wanting to achieve. So your herringbone can be laid at either 45-degree and 90-degree, which is ideal for expected slewing loading, continuous unbroken around the corners. Draw bricks from multiple packs to avoid color banding, which we explain as well with when you work with the face bricks. Blending is important because it is a natural product. But we show the contractors how to do this on site. And then start laying paving your pavers from a straight edge. It's very important. For precision cutting, you can use a disc cutter. And Corobrik also offers a full range of special shapes. Butt jointing, it's less than the required gap for jointing material. It causes the surface to act as a rigid manner, and direct contact between paving units is highly undesirable practice and can lead to spalling, which we've often viewed on site, and they say that the pavers are failing. When you look, the pavers are butt jointed, which is not recommended. Let me just check with my time. I don't know. Okay, we're still doing good. So practical considerations continued. 1 or 2 passes of a vibrating plate compactor compacting the bedding sand by plus minus 5 millimeter, which is important. Protect the paving by laying an old conveyor belt cardboard or a layer of sand, or attach a rubber mat to compactor plate. You know, we don't want the pavers to obviously get scratched. So you have to protect it. You working on the face of the paver. And then vibrating rollers are not recommended as they apply point load and will damage the paving bricks. Some of the bedding sand will push into the paving joints, helping to lock the pavers in position, which is a good thing. And then jointing is essential element in the procedure. Dry brush jointing sand across the surface. It may require 1 or 2 passes with the plate compactor to completely fill the joints with sand. Then the design criteria, which is also very, very, very important. This can also be overwhelming, but it will be shared. So the architectural and residential, this category is for very light loaded segmental clay paving. It includes the use of fired clay paving for aesthetic applications such as your embankment, protection, landscaping, and artwork. And the category includes pedestrian use in footpaths and for utilities such as paving around your swimming pools and your private residential driveways. So the CBR, which is a California bearing ratio value, 15% indicates that soil is well-graded sandy gravel. CBR is a percentage that measures the strength and bearing capacity of soil. So this is a simple design. It's your 50 millimeter paving, properly jointed with your 25 millimeter bedding sand, and then your support must be either a non-organic equivalent strength throughout, a minimum strength of 15% CBR. If not, then add 150 millimeter layer of gravel soil and compact. And then this one is your class ER, so it's your heavy vehicle traffic, up to load E3, between dry, moderate, or wet conditions. So we'll do the 65 millimeter clay pavers, properly jointed, then the 25 millimeter bedding sand, your sub base, which is your 150 millimeter C4 or your 150 millimeter G5s. And then your subgrade must be the minimum of 15% CBR according to the requirements. And then this is similar, but for dry and moderate or wet conditions as well. For class E2. And then we've got class E3. And you can see how the bases every time. So your design is from the ground up. The pavers are just the decorative part. Your sub base is very, very, very important. Okay. So this is the 65 millimeter properly jointed with your 25 millimeter bedding sand, your top layer of sub base, your lower layer of sub base, and then your subgrade. And then similarly for class E3 or E4, high volume with many heavy vehicles. So every time your vehicle increases your axles, your sub base is designed accordingly. So like we mentioned, design from the ground up. So the various colors or range within the paving. And we always develop all of these colors with an architect or a landscape architect or an engineer that said, can you do this? Will you try this? This is how most of the colors have been developed. In the past, it was just brown, cream or red. Brown or red. Cream or red. That was the most options that you could get with clay pavers. And now the possibilities are endless. This is just showing you some pictures of installation. We've got this new paving, which is called the pool nose, which is specifically for your pools areas, which has got the bull nose, and it's also got a section or groove for your LED lighting around your pool areas. And that is it. Sure. I don't know if I raced through this, yo, Eileen. Is our people still here? Are they?
They are still here. Does anybody have any questions? You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask any questions.
I just want to share one more thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Sure. Even my Yeah, sure, guys. Can I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Were you guys able to follow me? I thought we won't get through this, but we actually did very well with time. So I think your families won't be too upset with me. And yeah, so I just wanted to show you very quickly what we as Corobrik also have available on our website, which is our visualizer. And you can go play around with your design, so you can upload and you can play around with seeing how the product would look in perspective. Can you see this, Eileen?
No.
Oh, shucks. Let me just see again. Now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so basically you would upload your own design. I've just uploaded a standard design, and you can play around with the colors and just see what it would look like in perspective. So I'm not an architect, but you guys will know, or landscape architect, what you want to, if you want to do a contrasted in colors, if you want to complement your colors and incorporate different modules in one and just play around. Okay, and then yeah, I think, do we have any questions?
Okay, so we have another question from Elise. She said, sorry if this is a silly question, but can you give installers a certificate saying that they have completed your training and are a
Yes.
preferred installer for Corobrik?
Oh, I love that. I love that question. Because yes, we definitely give them certification. So immediately when we go to site and we show them how to work with our product, they get certification. We have 3 brick schools available nationally, where if they do attend the full 6-week course, they also get certification. And I think the other question was our preferred installer for Corobrik. This is exactly what we're actually looking to build a database of installed contractors. So we'd be very happy to include them in this list because we often get questions to say, do you have an approved installer? Generally our paving is very user friendly and a lot of people can work with the product, but this is exactly what we're wanting to build so that, you do have a reputable contractor that you are able to go to and the list will be available from us. So yes, I hope that answers your question, and that's definitely not a stupid question.
Thanks so much. Yeah, she said that would be amazing because then we know the installers will do it right with no comebacks.
100%.
Are
That's a
there any further comments or questions? Dani?
Yes, Shanice, I'll be very quick. I think there's a lot of background noise where I am, but I really want to thank you for your very nice presentation, the way that you've set it out. So I think it's very helpful for us. Yeah, we're looking forward to many more webinars. Thanks for your time.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Donnie. And I didn't even see you there. It's such an honor to have you also here viewing this presentation. And all of you guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for visiting our factory. If you will be joining us on Thursday, that's the fun part. Unfortunately, I'm just the boring part. But it would be really, really lovely to have you guys join us as well as yeah, just spend some time with us. We're going to have some snacks and lunch available. You'll get to view the factory and have fun.
Thank you so much, Anise. And I think those of us who are attending, me included, are quite excited to see how things happen in the factory.
Yes.
I know Dani did ask earlier that some people, may not be able to attend, and hopefully
Yes.
we could maybe set up another site visit, factory visit, at a
Yes.
later stage. But we
No,
can
of
definitely
course. Of
definitely have a
course.
conversation around that. But I'm going to just allow another minute if there are any questions
Okay.
or
No,
comments.
perfect. No, perfect.
I
Thank you so much, Arlene. And yes, exactly that. So if you aren't able to come on Thursday, I mean, it definitely won't be the last. So we'll definitely have more sessions. And if you guys would like other content to be covered in this webinars, please let us know, then we can focus specifically on what you'd like to be covered.
100%. Thank you. Thanks, Shanice. So, if anybody does have any questions or have any suggested topics that they'd like to hear about, you are welcome to let the ILASA Secretariat know. And we can then be in touch with Corobrik to make the necessary arrangements. And then if you scroll up in the chat, I did put up the QR code for the factory visit. So if you are available on Thursday and you would still like to attend, you can just quickly snap that QR code and register yourself for that.
Did everyone get the QR code for the presentation as well? Maybe I should just share that part, but if you don't mind, Eileen.
Yes, no problem at all.
Um, Because I know Elise was interested, but I will also email her, see she has dropped her
Yeah.
email
So,
in the chat.
Shanice, if you pop me that QR code on an email,
Okay.
I'll just include it when I send the recording to everybody who's attended.
Okay,
and
great.
they can have a look at it from there.
Okay, excellent. I'll do that.
Okay. But if there's no further comments or questions, Shanice, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and insights. And we look forward to seeing you at the factory visit on Thursday.
Yeah, fantastic. No, thank
Okay.
you guys. Thank you so much as well.
Thank you, everybody, for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.